What's up everybody, I'm Jason and welcome back to a short video looking at some tips and tricks for the EOS R5 and R6. In this video, I'm going to briefly cover the image auto rotation features. Canon cameras have an orientation sensor in them that allows the camera to determine which way is up. The camera can then add this information to your images, be they RAW or JPEG, so that they can be rendered in the correct orientation when viewed on a computer or camera. You'll find the auto rotation options on the Setup 1 menu page under the aptly titled Auto Rotate setting. Selecting the Auto Rotate setting presents you with three options. These are On, Camera and Computer, On, Computer, and Off. When the camera is set to the first option, On, Camera and Computer, it does two separate things. First, it uses its orientation sensor to set the image's orientation metadata for every image that's made. Secondly, it instructs the camera to use that orientation information when displaying the image for review on the camera. The second option, On Computer, also sets the image orientation metadata for every image. However, it causes the camera to ignore the information when reviewing the image. So they always will render, or images will always render as a landscape. The final option is Off. And when auto rotate is set to this, the camera sets the orientation information on images to the default value, which indicates that the image is shot in landscape. One important thing to note is that unlike a smartphone, where the current orientation is always used to determine how an image should be rotated to be displayed so that up in the image is up on the phone, when images are being reviewed on the camera always assumes that playback is in the landscape orientation with the viewfinder being up. This means that if you have a portrait image, it will be rotated and rendered smaller so that it fits within the aspect ratio of the screen. Moreover, if you rotate the camera so it is in a portrait orientation, the images will not rotate and resize to fit the available screen space. So portrait images will now be rotated kind of funny. On my cameras, I have this feature setting to On but computer only, as I find on camera I prefer having a larger view of the image instead of the image being in the correct orientation. In any event, I don't recommend turning off auto rotation completely, as it just makes that much more processing work for you in post-processing. In a similar vein, the R5 and R6 now also include a new option called Add Movie Rotate Info, with two settings, Enable and Disable. As with the image auto rotation option, this is also saved as metadata that's embedded in the video file. If Add Movie Rotate Info is activated, a small orientation indicator will be displayed at the top of the screen just under the viewfinder when you're in movie mode. That looks like a small camera with a solid white triangle that points in the direction that the camera considers up. Secondly, video rotation information is ignored when playing back video content on the camera. This applies to both the on-camera displays as well as on an external device or display connected via an HDMI cable. Finally, there's a somewhat confusing warning for the R5 users that video rotation information that says video rotation information when shooting in RAW plus MP4 cannot be added to the RAW or MP4 files. It's a little bit awkwardly worded, but put simply, what this is saying is that rotation information will only be applied to MP4 files when they're the only thing that's being recorded by the camera. If you shoot RAW, regardless of whether you're shooting RAW only or RAW with an MP4 proxy, no orientation information will be added to either of the files. Of course, R6 users can ignore this as the R6 doesn't shoot RAW video. So on my camera, I have this feature enabled, even though I don't really shoot portrait video, but it seems like it could be useful. And in the worst case situation, I may occasionally have to rotate a video in my NLE to be in the right orientation if somehow something goes wonky. So there you go, auto rotation on the R5 and R6 in a nutshell. If you found this quick tip useful, let me know by hitting that like button. If this kind of thing seems like it might be your kind of thing, please consider subscribing if you're not already. Remember, you can't forget to unsubscribe later if you don't subscribe now. Finally, if you know someone who might also find this useful, do them and me a favor and share it with them. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.